I never thought I'd be the woman crying in a Starbucks bathroom at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, but here I was, staring at a photo that just shattered everything I thought I knew about the last 15 years of my life. The photo showed my best friend Emily kissing my ex-husband David. Not just any kiss. The kind of kiss that screams, "We've been doing this for months." The kind that makes your stomach drop to your knees and your world tilt sideways like someone just pulled the rug out from under everything you believed was real. But let me back up. Let me tell you how I got here. Because this story starts way before that photo. It starts with trust. It starts with the kind of friendship you think will last forever. The kind where you share everything, where you think you know someone better than they know themselves. Emily and I met in college. Freshman year, random roommate assignment. She was this bubbly redhead from Ohio with the biggest laugh you've ever heard. I was the quiet girl from California who brought too many books and not enough social skills. We shouldn't have clicked, but we did. Like puzzle pieces that fit perfectly together. 15 years. 15 years of birthday parties and breakups, of career changes and family dramas. She was my maid of honor when I married David 8 years ago. She was the one who held my hair back when I had food poisoning on my honeymoon. She was the shoulder I cried on during my miscarriages. The one who brought wine and ice cream when my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And 6 months ago, when David asked for a divorce, Emily was right there. Front row seat to my complete breakdown. "I just need space," he'd said. Classic, right? I need to figure out who I am outside of this marriage. I remember Emily sitting on my couch that night, rubbing my back as I sobbed into her shoulder. "He's an idiot," she kept saying. "You're amazing, Sarah. Any man who can't see that doesn't deserve you." I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. For 6 months, Emily was my lifeline. She'd show up with coffee before work. She'd drag me to yoga classes I didn't want to attend. She'd stay up until 2 a.m. listening to me analyze every text David sent about picking up his stuff or discussing the divorce papers. "You're going to get through this," she'd tell me. "You're stronger than you know." And slowly, I started to believe it. I started to feel like maybe this divorce was a blessing in disguise. Maybe I was better off without David. Maybe Emily was right. Maybe I was stronger than I knew. That's what makes this so much worse. The way she helped me heal while she was the one who broke me in the first place. I found out by accident. Isn't that always how it happens? The universe has this cruel sense of timing. I was at the mall, buying a birthday gift for my nephew, when I saw them. At first, I thought I was hallucinating. Because there's no way Emily would be holding hands with David in the food court of Westfield Mall on a random Tuesday afternoon. But there they were, sharing a pretzel, laughing at something on her phone, his hand on her thigh like it belonged there. Like they'd done this 1,000 times before. I ducked behind a pillar like some kind of amateur spy, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might actually break a rib. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and took that photo. The one that's now burned into my retinas forever. The pretzel fell out of Emily's mouth when she saw me. Just dropped right onto the table. David went pale, then red, then pale again. Like his face couldn't decide which shade of guilt to settle on. "Sarah," Emily started, but I was already walking away. Fast. Straight to my car. Straight to that Starbucks bathroom where I'm having what I can only describe as an out-of-body experience. Because here's the thing about betrayal, it doesn't just hurt in the moment. It rewrites history. Every memory, every conversation, every moment of comfort she gave me, all of it suddenly has a different meaning. All those times she encouraged me to let David go. All those times she said I was better off without him. All those late-night phone calls where she'd listen to me cry and tell me everything was going to be okay. She wasn't being a good friend. She was clearing the path. My phone started buzzing. Text after text from Emily. "Sarah, please let me explain. It's not what you think. Can we talk? Please? I never meant for this to happen." That last one made me laugh. Actually laugh out loud in a public bathroom like a woman having a complete mental breakdown. Which I probably was. Never meant for this to happen? You don't accidentally hold hands with someone's ex-husband. You don't accidentally share intimate lunches. You don't accidentally build a relationship while your best friend is falling apart. This was planned. This was calculated. This was methodical. I drove home in a daze, my phone still buzzing with messages I couldn't bring myself to read. When I pulled into my driveway, Emily's car was already there. She was sitting on my front steps, still in the same clothes from the mall. Still looking guilty as hell. Sarah, she stood up as I got out of my car. Please. Just. Let me explain. Explain? The word came out harsher than I intended. Explain what, exactly? How long you've been lying to me? How long you've been with him? She flinched. Actually flinched at the accusation. It's complicated. Complicated. I unlocked my front door, Emily following behind me like a lost puppy. You know what's complicated? Calculus. Tax returns. Complicated is not screwing your best friend's husband. Ex-husband, she corrected quietly. I spun around so fast, she took a step back. Ex-husband because of you. The words hung in the air between us. Emily's face went white. Whiter than white. The color of someone who just realized their secret was out. What do you mean? But her voice was shaking. She knew exactly what I meant. You know what I mean. I walked into my kitchen, Emily trailing behind me. I needed something to do with my hands, so I started making coffee I didn't want. How long, Emily? How long were you together before David asked for the divorce? Silence. The kind of silence that screams louder than any confession. Emily. My voice was deadly calm now. How long? A year. It came out as a whisper. A year. A full year. While I was planning David's surprise birthday party, Emily was planning. What? My divorce? My destruction? A year, I repeated, setting down the coffee pot before I threw it at the wall. You've been with my husband for a year. It wasn't. We didn't plan it. It just happened. Nothing just happens for a year, Emily. I turned to face her, and she looked so small standing in my kitchen. So different from the confident woman who'd been holding my husband's hand an hour ago. A year of lying to my face. A year of letting me cry on your shoulder about my marriage falling apart. A year of pretending to be my friend while you were. I couldn't finish the sentence. The words were too ugly. I was trying to protect you, she said suddenly. Protect me. I laughed, and it sounded hysterical even to my own ears. You were protecting me by sleeping with my husband. David was unhappy, Sarah. He has been for years. You had to have known that. So you decided to make him happy? I decided to be honest with him. About his feelings. About what he needed. The audacity. The absolute audacity of this woman standing in my kitchen, talking about honesty while she'd been lying to me for 12 months. And what he needed was you. Emily looked down at her hands. What he needed was someone who understood him. Someone who listened to him. Someone who didn't make him feel guilty for wanting more than this. She gestured around my kitchen. My home. My life. This isn't enough? My voice was getting louder. 8 years of marriage isn't enough? Our home isn't enough? I'm not enough. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Emily? Because I'm really struggling to understand how you've twisted this into some kind of noble act. She was crying now, actual tears streaming down her face. But I felt nothing, no sympathy, no urge to comfort her like I had 1,000 times before. Just emptiness. He was going to leave you anyway, she said through her tears. With or without me. At least this way, you had support. You had someone to help you through it. Support. The word tasted bitter. You call what you did support? I was there for you every day. Every single day for 6 months, Sarah. I held you while you cried. I brought you food when you wouldn't eat. I made sure you weren't alone. While you were sleeping with my husband. Ex-husband. Stop calling him that. I slammed my hand on the counter, making Emily jump. Stop trying to make this okay by calling him my ex-husband. He was my husband when you started screwing him. He was my husband when you were planning his escape route. He was my husband when you were sitting on my couch telling me I was better off without him. Emily wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I know how this looks. Do you? Do you really? Because it looks like my best friend of 15 years orchestrated the destruction of my marriage so she could have my husband. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Emily? Paint me a picture. Help me understand how this was all for my benefit. She took a shaky breath. David came to me first. About a year and a half ago. He was struggling. With the marriage. With feeling trapped. With feeling like he was living someone else's life. So he came to you instead of me. His wife. He tried to talk to you. You shut him down every time. I shut him down? Every time he brought up counseling, you said you were fine. Every time he suggested taking a break or trying something new, you said everything was perfect the way it was. You wouldn't listen, Sarah. You wouldn't see what was right in front of you. The words hit like physical blows. Because there was truth in them. David had mentioned counseling. I had said we didn't need it. He had suggested we take a weekend trip, just the two of us, and I'd said we couldn't afford it. He'd asked if I was happy, and I'd said of course I was happy. Why wouldn't I be happy? But that didn't make this right. That didn't justify what they'd done. So you decided to listen to him instead. I was his friend too, Sarah. I'd known him almost as long as I'd known you. When he came to me, desperate and confused, and I just listened. That's all. At first. When did it become more than listening? Emily looked away. I don't know. It wasn't one moment. It was gradual. He'd come over to talk, and we'd end up talking for hours. About everything. About his dreams, his fears, his regrets. About feeling stuck. About feeling like he was disappointing everyone by not being happy with a life that looked perfect on paper. And you understood him in a way I couldn't? I understood him in a way you wouldn't. There's a difference. The honesty in that statement was like a knife to the chest. Because she was right. I wouldn't have understood. I would have tried to fix it, to make lists and plans and schedules. I would have tried to convince him that what we had was enough, instead of listening to why it wasn't. When did you sleep with him? Sarah. When? Last Christmas. After your office party. You went to bed early, and he stayed up. We were cleaning up, and we looked at each other, and we both knew. Last Christmas. I remembered that night. I'd had too much wine at the party and came home exhausted. David had offered to clean up while I went to bed. I'd kissed him goodnight and told him I loved him. And an hour later, he was with my best friend. In my house. Emily nodded, not meeting my eyes. Where? Sarah, please. Where in my house did you have sex with my husband? The living room. The living room. Where we watched movies every Friday night. Where we opened Christmas presents. Where I'd cried in Emily's arms just 3 months ago about losing David. And then what? You just kept it up for a year. We tried to stop. So many times. But we fell in love, Sarah. I know how that sounds. I know how cruel that is to hear. But it's the truth. Fell in love. Like it was something that happened to them, not something they chose. Like they were victims of some cosmic force, instead of two people who decided to betray someone they claimed to care about. When did you decide he should leave me? We never. It wasn't like that. When, Emily? June. He was miserable, and you were oblivious, and we both knew it couldn't go on forever. Someone was going to get hurt no matter what. So you chose for it to be me. We chose for it to be honest. Honest? I laughed again, that same hysterical sound. There's nothing honest about this. You spent 6 months comforting me over a divorce you encouraged. You spent 6 months pretending to be my friend while you were with my husband. You spent 6 months lying to my face every single day. I was trying to help you. You were trying to help yourself. Emily was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Harder. Maybe I was tired of watching you take for granted something I would have given anything to have. Maybe I was tired of watching David disappear a little more every day while you planned dinner parties and redecorated the bathroom. Maybe I was tired of being the friend who was always there for you while you never noticed when I needed someone to. There it was. The real truth. Not some noble story about protecting me or helping David find happiness. The truth was that Emily was jealous of my marriage, my house, my life. The truth was that she wanted what I had and she found a way to take it. So you decided to take it. I decided to be honest about wanting it. By lying to me for over a year. By not telling you something that would have destroyed you before you were strong enough to handle it. And when exactly would I have been strong enough to handle my best friend sleeping with my husband? Emily looked at me with something that might have been pity. You're handling it now. The audacity of that statement left me speechless. As if this conversation, this confrontation, was evidence that her betrayal had somehow made me stronger. As if destroying my marriage and my trust was a gift she'd given me. Get out, I said quietly. Sarah, get out of my house. Please. We've been friends for 15 years. That has to count for something. 15 years. I walked to the front door and opened it. 15 years of friendship that you threw away for a man who asked me for a divorce rather than tell me the truth himself. Emily followed me to the door, but she stopped on the threshold. I know you hate me right now. I know you probably hate me forever. But Sarah, someday, when you're with someone who sees you the way you deserve to be seen, you'll understand that this was the right thing. For all of us. I closed the door in her face. That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks of silence from both of them. 3 weeks of replaying every conversation, every moment, every memory from the past year, and seeing it all differently. The time Emily insisted I should go out with the girls instead of staying home with David. The time she suggested I might be happier focusing on my career instead of trying to get pregnant again. The time she nodded sympathetically when I complained about David working late, never mentioning that he might have been working late with her. Every kindness was a manipulation. Every piece of advice was designed to push us apart. Every moment of comfort was a lie. But here's the thing I keep coming back to, the thing that makes this even worse than a simple betrayal. Emily was right about some things. David was unhappy. I was oblivious. I did shut down conversations about our problems because I thought ignoring them would make them go away. I wasn't the perfect wife she painted me as when she was comforting me through the divorce. I was the wife who planned dinner parties instead of having real conversations. I was the wife who said everything was fine when it wasn't. I was the wife who loved her husband but didn't really know him anymore. Does that justify what they did? Hell no. But it makes it more complicated than just good versus evil. It makes it human. And that's what I can't forgive. Not the affair. Not the lies. But the fact that instead of helping me see what was wrong, instead of being honest about David's unhappiness or my blindness, she used it against me. She weaponized my weaknesses to get what she wanted. A real friend would have told me my marriage was in trouble. A real friend would have pushed me to fight for it or let it go. A real friend wouldn't have spent a year positioning herself as the alternative. I saw them again yesterday. At the grocery store. They were in the cereal aisle, debating between Honey Nut Cheerios and regular Cheerios like a normal couple. Like they hadn't blown up 2 lives to get to that moment. Emily saw me first. She touched David's arm and whispered something. He looked up, saw me, and his face went through that same cycle of colors as the mall. Guilt is apparently very colorful. I nodded at them. Actually nodded like they were acquaintances I barely knew. Then I finished my shopping and went home. Because here's what I've learned in these 3 weeks of radio silence and sleepless nights. I can't change what they did. I can't take back the lies or the betrayal or the year of deception. I can't make Emily care about our friendship more than she cared about my husband. I can't make David brave enough to tell me the truth instead of asking for space. But I can choose what happens next. I'm seeing a therapist now. A real one, not a best friend with an agenda. I'm learning about boundaries and red flags and the difference between supporting someone and enabling them. I'm learning that sometimes people show you exactly who they are, and it's your job to believe them. I'm also learning that betrayal doesn't just reveal things about the people who betray you. It reveals things about yourself, about the lies you tell yourself, about the warning signs you ignore because it's easier than facing the truth. Emily was right about one thing. I am stronger than I knew, just not in the way she meant. I'm strong enough to start over at 35. I'm strong enough to admit that my marriage was broken long before Emily got involved. I'm strong enough to acknowledge my part in its failure without taking responsibility for someone else's choices. I'm strong enough to grieve the loss of my best friend and my husband simultaneously. I'm strong enough to be angry and heartbroken and hopeful all at the same time. Most importantly, I'm strong enough to know that their happiness doesn't require my blessing, and my healing doesn't require their remorse. They're planning a wedding, according to mutual friends. Spring of next year. I won't be invited, obviously, but I hope it's everything they thought it would be. I hope the love they built on the foundation of lies and betrayal is worth what it cost all of us. As for me, I'm learning to be alone without being lonely. I'm learning to trust my instincts instead of ignoring them. I'm learning that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who can hurt you the most, and that's a risk you take when you love someone. But I'm also learning that surviving that kind of hurt doesn't make you bitter if you don't let it. It makes you wiser. It makes you more careful with your trust, but not afraid to give it to the right people. And someday, when I'm ready, I'll find someone who chooses honesty over convenience. Someone who fights for us instead of looking for an exit. Someone who sees my flaws and loves me anyway, instead of using them against me. Someone who understands that real love doesn't require betrayal to exist. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely, you know that hollow feeling I'm talking about. That moment when you realize the person you thought you knew never really existed. Share your story in the comments below, and remember to subscribe for more real-life stories that remind us we're not alone in this messy, complicated business of being human.